the peak, not down in the still. Both of these are going to produce heat underneath. The material is going to raise in temperature. The material is going to come up through the still. It is going to collect, and you're going to see a cloud. The cloud is the material that you're after. In the modern still, I'm going to use a jacket. This is a condensation column, so that I am not doing fractional distillation. This is straight hot distillation. And in period, that's all that existed. And again, this is simply going to, if I can get that on there without it being crooked. Today we simply use clips, if I can get the clip on correctly. And the clip is simply going to hold it in place. Now, in order to prevent that from waiting, I'm going to attach another clip to hold it in place.
So the coiled condenser that I remember from chemistry class was for fractional distillation.
Yes. So that this mimics but does not identically reproduce. You can get a coiled distillation column here. You can get a cooling column that's coiled inside. The funnel, this is the separatory funnel for this particular still, and it is simply going to set to the side here. Now, in period, what would happen today? We know that water boils at 100 C, 212 F. None of those exist in period. They haven't got a clue about that. They simply know that it is going to get hot and it is going to cause a cloud, a vapor. So that you want to start with a material so that an alchemical process is a multi-stage process. This is a fermentation jar. What happens is that you will take the material that you are going to distill and you place it into the fermentation jar. The fermentation jar has a lid on it to seal out exterior influences. This fermentation jar is filled with rose petals and water. There's no sugar, there is no yeast. It is still called a fermentation jar. The material inside here is called a liquor, even though there's no alcohol content. So that whenever you see the word liquor in the period text, they are not talking about Seagrams. In period, the well was backfilled with quicksilver, what we call mercury today, to form a permanent barrier between the outside and the inside. The material material is rotting inside. Once it's rotted sufficiently,
And how long would you think that would take?
the text says sufficiently. I let mine rot about a week before I'm ready to use it.
Can you do things to encourage that, just to get the sun?
You can, absolutely. You can continue to rot until nothing else rots. So that I've already pulled the liquor off of this twice. So that this is a third pull off the same pedal. The period text literally says to fill the fermentation jar sufficiently and cover with an adequate amount of water. That's a lot of instructions there. So that, having done this a couple of times, I can tell you that as they rot, they rise. They get fatter. They take up more volume than they did originally. So that you cannot fill it all the way to the top because it's going to roll out. After it has fermented, I'm going to take and strain it into a jar.
Did you wash the rose petals?
No,
There's probably some wild yeast in there.
absolutely.
Not adding any sugar.
But I'm not adding any sugar. The other thing that I've not mentioned is that I only use organic rose petals. I only use organic plant material. Whenever I first started, I collected my orange peels from my morning oranges because someone asked me for orange water. Okay, that's easy. I collected all these orange peels, put it in the still, and went. Something stinks. All the pesticides, everything that those orange peels had been sprayed with was coming out in my still. I was organic distilling materials that I really didn't want. Okay, this makes sense to me. So that if you're going to use it, you absolutely want to make sure that you're starting with an organic material. The text says to ferment until it looks like Merlot.
When you strain, you used a metal strainer.
Yes,
That-
it says cheesecloth, which is messy. So I moved to that simply for the display. Yes, Rosemary.
You didn't mention a substitute for the mercury, that I would not recommend doing
No.
that in this day and age.
What I use is water only in my seal, which means you've got to go back and fill it every day. Now, whenever I took the original drawing of this to Aeropoy, it's A, B, and C. C is a pipette, and the pipette's finished, but it wouldn't fit through the hole. So he's remaking it for me. So the pipette allows you to go in and pull off without turning the fermentation flask on its side and losing the mercury, the quicksilver, I will say. So that this is liquor and you've just seen me pull it off. I'll let you smell that. That's what rose water liquor smells like. That material then is going to go into the boiling flask. The petals don't go into the boiling flask. Yes.
That fermentation process, is that the same process when you get directions, say put it in a, I didn't say fermentation vessel, stop it up